Now. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn, Prompting to Promote Student Success, From Assistance to Independence. My name is Jennifer Boyder, and I will be your presenter today. The Lunch and Learn series is presented by the LaSard Project. LaSard is one of the many programs of the Human Development Center. The Human Development Center at LSU Health New Orleans is Louisiana's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities and is home to many programs that support individuals with developmental disabilities across the lifespan. You can find out more information about all of our programs by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen or at hdc.lsuhsc.edu. The Louisiana Autism Spectrum and Related Disabilities, or LaSard Project, provides direct training and professional development, coaching in classrooms, and team action planning to support school districts, teachers, and students throughout our state. This is our team. Our interdisciplinary team has diverse expertise and many years of combined experience. We consistently work together to find innovative ways to support inclusive education and community participation for everyone. Have you ever been on the edge of understanding something new, but felt like you needed a little push to totally get it? Or needed a hint to help you remember how to do something? Or wished someone would point you in the right direction? What you wanted was a prompt, the right amount of help at just the right time to help you reach your target and achieve your goal. It's the same for students. Their willingness to keep trying on hard skills or tasks improves if we give them the right amount of prompting at just the right time to help them be successful. Prompts can come in many forms, from a subtle look to indicate the right direction to taking someone's hand and physically leading them where they need to go. Prompts can be used in all learning situations, from helping someone learn a new physical task, such as washing their hands or walking through the lunch line, to teaching new academic and social skills. Today, we will learn what prompting is and why it is important when teaching new skills. We will learn about the prompt hierarchy and types of prompts, and we will learn about prompting procedures and how to reduce prompts to prevent prompt dependency. What is prompting? Prompting is an evidence-based strategy that is a key component of effective instructions. Prompts promote success across many learning domains as students acquire new academic skills, adaptive skills, and behavior skills. Prompting can also be applied to teaching communication skills, motor skills, play, and school readiness skills. Because effective prompts reduce incorrect responding as students are presented with new and challenging material, they facilitate skill acquisition and promote independence while reducing the detrimental effects caused by repeated failure, such as frustration, negative emotional responses, and problem behavior. Prompts provide learners with extra support to learn more easily and quickly. When students are provided effective prompts, they are more likely to give a correct response, which in turn means they are more likely to receive reinforcement, which strengthens the response. Prompts help students become independent and learn to complete tasks on their own as the prompts are faded. When a student is having a hard time with a task, effective prompts help them succeed and reduce their frustration associated with learning the new or challenging skill. Prompting is an important strategy because diverse students and students with ASD may not respond to the natural cues that are effective for other students. They support new learning by providing the help the student needs to accomplish each step in the skill, and prompting is a positive strategy because it ensures that the student is always successful. And just like it is important to plan for prompting to facilitate acquiring new skills, it is important to plan for how to reduce or fade prompts from the learning sequence. The goal is for the behaviors or skills to occur with natural cues and not the prompts. Using a gradual and systematic method of reducing prompts will help the student learn to use the new skills independently. Prompts promote independence. We provide cues to ensure that students receive the necessary amount of support to be successful. We use the least amount of prompting and support necessary to help the student accomplish the goal, and we fade prompts away quickly to avoid fostering dependence. Prompts are all around us, helping us move through our day independently. When the light turns green, that's our prompt to go. When the elevator bell dings, that's the prompt that we either step on or step off when the door opens. Most prompts become natural to us over time, but they were taught to us at some point when we were younger. For many of our students, things that we consider to be natural prompts are not recognizable to them, so we must explicitly teach them how to recognize the prompts in their environment. How are new skills learned? We often think about the ABCs when we talk about student behavior. Learning a new skill is a behavior. It is the response to the antecedent, which is the instruction or direction that indicates what the student should do. So, just as we would intervene with behavior near the time of the antecedent to see a desired behavior, we also want to intervene with learning before the student responds to facilitate the correct response. This is where we will offer the prompt, so we can assist or guide the student in making the response or completing the skill correctly. It is not a permanent part of the sequence. The prompt will need to be faded and ultimately eliminated from the sequence for the learning or behavior change to be meaningful. Also, just as we do with behavior to strengthen desired behavior, it is important to pay attention to the consequence, or what we do after the student responds. Learning is directly related to what happens in the environment as a consequence that serves to strengthen or reinforce it. The right reinforcement will keep a student motivated to persist through skills that are hard to learn or perform. The student should be given positive feedback that indicates that they have performed the skill correctly. Enthusiastically praising a student for completing the task or a few minutes of free time after finishing one academic task before starting another are examples of positive reinforcement. If a student requires frequent reinforcement, say after every few responses, the reinforcement should be quickly consumed or used so that the reinforcement does not disrupt the flow of instruction. A goldfish cracker, a 5-second video, or bubbles are all examples of reinforcers that come to a quick and natural end and do not require the teacher to remove an item from the child. There are circumstances when a highly preferred reinforcer is necessary to motivate students and build their persistence. Use a token card to signal to the student that he or she is on track for earning their chosen reinforcement. Select reinforcers carefully and have a few backup reinforcers ready to go. Remember, reinforcers must be reinforcing to the individual. We can't decide for the student what we think should be reinforcing for him or her, and they may lose their reinforcing power with repeated use. Too much of a good thing can be too much, so be sure that the student receives the reinforcement of choice from you for their effort, and that it is not so freely available that the student becomes satiated with or tired of it, resulting in the reinforcer becoming less of a motivating factor. When deciding how much prompting to provide to a student, we consider both the student's skill level and the task. Remember, independence is the goal, making it necessary to consider two key aspects of prompting: the prompt hierarchy and prompting procedure. Going through a prompt hierarchy in a progressive manner ensures that the student will experience success. A progression of prompts prevents students from becoming overwhelmed and frustrated by continually being presented with material that is too challenging or too easy. The prompting procedure used helps determine how to fade prompts in a gradual and systematic manner so that the student makes a correct and independent response without the assistance of our prompts. We use various types of prompts to help students succeed. Prompt levels are described as a graduation of intrusiveness or restrictiveness, from least restrictive, most independent, to most restrictive, least independent. The level of intrusiveness or restrictiveness describes how much teacher assistance is provided to the student. When we prompt, we consider the individual student's needs and develop a plan to prompt that will be effective in supporting the student to respond correctly. An effective plan for prompting will follow a hierarchy from least to most restrictive to help the student complete the task. This graphic shows the different types of prompts and places them in a hierarchy from least to most restrictive. Remember, the prompt hierarchy is individualized and based upon the student's independence level. Therefore, a prompt hierarchy created for your student may have the various types of prompts occurring at different levels. Prompting cues include independent and natural cues, gestural prompts, verbal prompts, visual prompts, model prompts, and physical prompts. Let's look at each type of prompt. A natural cue is some feature of the environment or part of an activity that signals the student what to do. Natural cues are the social and environmental factors that cue you to give a response or information. For example, when your phone rings, you know that you are either going to answer it or send the caller to voicemail. Seeing a water fountain is a natural cue to take a sip of water after playing hard at recess. For some students, signals that occur in the environment are not readily learned, and we must explicitly teach them so that the child learns to independently respond when the cue occurs. Teaching them will require prompting as they learn, so that when they come into contact with a natural prompt in their environment, they can respond appropriately. Natural cues are the least intrusive prompts. When beginning to teach a skill, first think about what the natural cue is. What do you want your student to respond to? What is the cue for other students? The ultimate goal is for the student to independently respond to the natural cue without any additional prompting needed. Natural cues come in different forms. Some occur in the environment. Some are determined by listening to the teacher or a peer, or by interpreting another person's body language. Other natural cues are signals or symbols that have meaning, such as a red light or a green light. For example, having dirty hands cues you to go to the sink and wash them. Sometimes the completion of a problem or an activity can serve as a natural cue. If the activity is to put finished work in the finish bin, then completing the last item on the worksheet would be the natural cue to place the work in the bin. This video shows a student responding at the independent level. In this instance, the cue was simply the bucket being placed near the toys. No verbal instructions or modeling were necessary for the student to begin putting the toys into the bucket. You can imagine that at some point, the adult with the child told her to put the toys in the bucket, modeled putting them in the bucket, or may have even taken her little hands and physically guided her to put the toys in the bucket. Over time, less intrusive and fewer prompts were needed to prompt the child to clean up, and now she automatically responds to the natural cue by putting the toys away when the bucket is placed on the table. A gestural prompt is a movement that provides the learner with information about how to perform the target skill and can include pointing, nodding, or otherwise motioning toward the student, activity, or materials to indicate the correct response. For example, when teaching Sam how to add double digits, the teacher pointed to the tens column to help him remember to carry the 1 to solve the problem correctly. A verbal prompt is anything said to a learner that will help them perform a target skill correctly. This is the type of prompt we use most often as teachers. Verbal prompts are either direct or indirect and either full or partial. Direct verbal prompts describe what the student is to do. For example, wash your hands. An indirect verbal prompt is less intense and provides an opportunity for the student to respond without directly telling them what to do. You might use an indirect prompt such as, "What do you need to do when your hands are dirty?" To illustrate full and partial verbal prompting, imagine asking a child to identify the color of a banana. A full verbal model is the presentation of the entire verbal response. Yellow. A partial verbal model is presenting the initial sound or sounds of a word. And this too can be faded to even just positioning the mouth without vocalizing to prompt the student to give the desired correct verbal response. A visual prompt is a picture, icon, or object used to provide information to the student about how to perform the target skill or behavior. Visual prompts include supports such as visual schedules or a task analysis, which is a visual representation of the steps in a sequence as is illustrated on the slide, and other visual cues, such as this visual to support taking turns. Keep in mind that, as with all prompts, these too are provided to increase independence and therefore should eventually be faded. Ways to fade include making the picture size smaller, increasing the distance to the picture, such as moving it from the desktop to the board, and decreasing the number of steps pictured to complete a task as the student gains independence. Teaching frequently involves modeling. Model prompts are demonstrations of the correct response without physical touch. For this prompt to be effective, the student must visually attend to the model and have the ability to imitate. Model prompts are especially useful when verbal and visual prompts are not sufficient enough to help a student respond correctly. They can be a full model or a partial model of the target skill. Model prompts can be accompanied by a verbal prompt like, do this, or copy me. For example, when teaching Alexander how to sound out the word, the teacher said, copy me, and pointed to each letter and said, cat. Then she moved her finger under the letters while saying cat. When fading the prompt level for this example, the teacher may only point to the letters while Alexander provides the sounds and says the word. Another example of a model prompt is when the teacher demonstrates how to solve a math equation at the board. Model prompts can be delivered live in person or by video. A physical prompt involves a hands-on approach to guide the learner to perform a skill or complete a task correctly. Physical prompting is useful when the student does not respond to less intrusive prompts, such as verbal or visual prompts. Physical prompts can be either full physical prompts or partial physical prompts. Full physical prompts guide the student through the entire movement of every step in the correct response. Full physical prompts are commonly used when the correct response is a motor movement or adaptive skill such as feeding, dressing, or handwriting. For example, when teaching Colton to write, the teacher places her hand over his to grasp the pencil and make marks on the paper. A partial physical prompt physically guides the student through only some of the steps in the correct response. For example, when teaching Allison independent feeding skills, the teacher physically prompts her to scoop the food, but then she does not touch Allison's hand as Allison independently puts the spoon in her mouth and returns the spoon to the bowl. Another form of partial physical prompt in this scenario could be tapping, nudging, or lightly providing physical assistance as Allison takes over the skill of scooping the food and putting it into her mouth. Here is a video example of a full physical prompt. And in this video, there's using the less intrusive physical prompt, the partial physical prompt is illustrated. Notice the teacher in this example only lifted the child's arm up to the paper from like the forearm or elbow area. The second element of prompting that must be decided upon before using a hierarchy of prompts is determining what prompting procedure will be used. The prompting procedure selected becomes the foundation for gradual and systematic fading of the prompts so that the student gains independence. The prompting procedures we will consider today include least to most prompting, most to least prompting, simultaneous prompting, and time delay. Least to most prompting is most effective with students who demonstrate some of the prerequisite skills for completing a task, but they aren't doing the whole skill independently. The least to most sequence begins with the least intrusive or most natural prompt. If the student does not provide the targeted response correctly within a specified time, usually 3 to 5 seconds after the first prompt occurs, provide more intrusive prompts according to the established hierarchy. Continue with the addition of more intrusive prompts until the targeted response is given. Let's look at an example. The target skill or behavior is that the student will begin working on a worksheet when it is handed to him. The natural prompt is the worksheet being handed to the student. If the student begins work promptly, then no other additional prompting is needed. If the natural prompt does not result in the student starting the worksheet, then the next prompt in the hierarchy should be given. According to this prompt hierarchy, the next level is a direct verbal prompt. Start on your worksheet. After a few seconds, if the student does not begin the worksheet, the next level is a gestural prompt, and the teacher points or taps the first problem on the worksheet. If the student still does not begin, a model prompt is provided saying, "Let me get started for you," and the teacher shows the student how to complete the first item on the worksheet. This may be followed by a physical prompt of placing the pencil in the student's hand. As you can see from this example, least to most prompting means you start with the least prompt and move to more intrusive prompts until you reach a level where the student can complete the task. When using most to least prompting, the student receives the level of prompt they need to be successful when instruction begins. This strategy is most successful for students who lack the necessary skills to complete the task. As the student gains success at each level over a specified number of trials, decrease the prompt level systematically until no prompts are needed. For example, if you are working with a student to highlight answers on a worksheet, you might start with a full physical prompt using hand over hand to help the student complete it. For the first 1 or 2 problems, physically prompt selecting and highlighting the correct answer, and from that point, move to a less intrusive prompt, such as a gesture prompt pointing to the correct answer, followed by decreasing the intrusiveness of the prompt by giving a verbal prompt such as, "That's the right answer, now highlight that one." The independent response is when the student highlights the correct answers without being prompted to do so. Another prompting procedure is simultaneous prompting. Simultaneous prompting begins with the presentation of a probe trial. During the probe trial, no prompts are given to assist the student. Instructional trials are conducted by giving the instruction immediately followed by a controlling prompt, or a prompt that results in the learner giving a correct response 100% of the time during instructional trials. To determine the controlling prompt, move through the system of least to most prompts until you reach a prompt level to which the student responds with accuracy 100% of the time. Referring back to the ABCs of learning and behavior that we discussed earlier, this means that the student receives or accesses reinforcement with each instructional trial. For example, the target skill or behavior is the student will respond to multiplication facts within 5 seconds of the presentation of the stimulus. In the probe trial, the teacher shows Stephen the flashcard with 7 times 12 and says, "Stephen, 7 times 12 equals..." She allows 5 seconds for him to respond. The teacher marks his response as correct or incorrect. The next step is to provide the simultaneous prompts. The teacher then shows the card again and says, "Stephen, 7 times 12 equals..." and immediately provides the controlling prompt, in this case, the full verbal prompt, 84. Stephen repeats 84, and the teacher gives him a high five and says, 7 times 12 is 84. Take data on the probe or the unprompted trials to determine the student mastery of the skill. Time delay is another process for fading prompts. Time delay refers to the delay in time between the natural cue and the prompt. There are 2 time delay procedures, and both begin with a 0-second trial. Just as in simultaneous prompting, the cue and the prompt are provided at the same time. For example, the teacher hands the worksheet to the student, which is the natural cue, and at the same time she is handing it to him, she says, "Start on your worksheet." In the constant time delay procedure, the cue is given, and the teacher waits to deliver the prompt for a previously decided amount of time, usually 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds. This amount of time stays constant over the next trials or sessions. The teacher hands the worksheet to the student and waits before delivering the verbal prompt, allowing time for the student to respond to the natural cue. The selected delay remains constant until the student reliably responds and then can be reduced or eliminated. When using the progressive time delay, the procedure is altered slightly. The cue is given, and the teacher waits to deliver the prompt for a predetermined amount of time, and then with successive trials, the wait time is increased, resulting in longer pauses between the cue and the prompt. Using the example of passing out a worksheet, the teacher would hand the student the worksheet and then wait for 1 second before delivering the prompt. "Start your worksheet." The next time she would wait for 2 seconds, and the following time she would wait for 3 seconds, and so on. Being prepared and using an explicit learning routine are important when implementing an instructional learning and prompting sequence. Be sure to have your instructional materials, including visual support tools and positive reinforcement, ready. Gain the student's attention, deliver the target skill, task, instruction, or cue, allow the predetermined response wait time, provide the next level of prompt according to the hierarchy if the student does not respond or if the student responds incorrectly. And remember, provide reinforcement when the student responds correctly. Remember, a prompt increases the likelihood that a student will respond correctly to natural cues. So, if the student doesn't produce the correct response after you prompt, consider changing the type of prompt or the level of prompting you are using. Sometimes we offer prompts so automatically without considering if the student truly needs them to succeed. If we are not careful, our prompt becomes a step in the activity that the student waits and depends upon to guide their completion of the task or skill. Avoid prompt dependency by planning how to fade your prompts from the onset of teaching. Planning for prompt fading makes the difference between "I can't" and "I can." Prompt dependency inhibits the learning of new skills and reduces the student's ability to function without adult help. Prompt fading leads to greater independence, ensures that the individual does not become prompt dependent, and may stop learned helplessness from happening. Today, we learned how to facilitate skill acquisition and promote independence. We learned what prompting is and why it is important when teaching new skills. We discussed the various levels of prompts and the importance of developing a prompt hierarchy, and we learned about prompting procedures and how to fade prompts to prevent prompt dependency. As we conclude our Lunch and Learn, keep in mind that student independence is the ultimate goal, and ask yourself these questions as you implement a prompting procedure. When is it absolutely necessary for me to sit next to the student to provide support? Are there times when I could provide the student with less support? When and how can I help the student increase independence? Could a peer provide some of the supports I am providing? And when should I move away from the student? We want to thank you for your participation today. The next Lunch and Learn in our series will be Friday, April 14th. Please join and learn with us as Brittany Clark presents on the topic of task analysis. And also, here is our QR code, and we would appreciate if you would take a moment and scan the code to complete our training survey. And as people are completing the survey, if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. And I also want to give you the resources that were used in preparation of this Lunch and Learn. Are there any questions?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll click back to the QR code if anyone still needs a moment to